Hey everyone, I'm Loboforge, and today I'm showing you something that completely changed how I build AI video. The ComfyUI Video Director Workflow. It's my custom setup for multi-sequence speeded iteration with smart memory, selective upscaling, and auto-stitching. Let's dive right in. If you've ever generated multiple clips and had to redo everything because one came out wrong, you know the pain. The Video Director fixes that. It remembers your last good takes, so you can re-render only what needs changing. You save time, VRAM, and sanity. You'll often see that in the loop workflows that have an index or something like that, or have a string that is automatically split into many different sequences. While these work great to generate multiple videos at once, most times, almost every time that I've done it, I've seen that the second or third or fourth prompt doesn't give me the results that I want. So I end up having to regenerate all of the pieces again. So instead of waiting for one generation, you're waiting for 4 or 5, depending on how many your index has. So this workflow fixes that. Okay, so the workflow has 3 main phases. First is your scene setup, where you define your clip order and parameters. Second is your smart memory layer that tracks each scene's last valid output. And lastly, final assembly, where we have the upscaling, interpolation, and the final video stitch. All right, we'll go through those pieces one at a time. So first, okay, so here in this workflow, I have kind of created these directions, which you can follow as you wish. We will be enabling and disabling groups as we go, so that we can see what the actual sequence is. And we can generate one at a time or generate number 3, 10 times, or whatever the case may be. So we'll walk you through. First, so this is your precondition. This is something that's pre-appended to every prompt. So every single prompt will have these 3 aspects to it. First thing is set the scene, right? And you don't want to put in anything that can change. For example, if you put she's sitting and then later on you want her to stand, you'll get conflicting video. So I've seen often, and I have forgotten that before, but I'll see that she'll stand up and then she'll sit down again because the prompt told her to sit down. She should be sitting, even if the other prompt tells her to stand. Your negative prompt, this is the default prompt that I think almost everybody uses. I usually delete this and nothing bad happens, to be fair. But with this, I left the default here so that whatever this says, looked it up once, you can continue to have that benefit. So I like to put things that are camera related always at the end. So this post condition is what gets appended to every prompt. So it'll be basically a prompt sandwich, right? So the prompt that you would like will be in between these. So the actual prompt preview will be something along the lines of Jinx has 2 long blue hair braids. She is in her lair of a crazy tinkerer. Animate this, and then it will say the camera always keeps Jinx's face in the frame. Okay, now quick note, when you refer to the character by their name, it will establish that kind of an identity. It will remember between generations, but it will know if you have multiple people in the frame who is who. I mentioned that she has blue hair here, so if I add somebody else into the frame, it will know when I refer to the person with blue hair, known as Jinx, then it will only animate her. And not necessarily the second person. Not foolproof, but more often than not, it's pretty consistent. Okay, so obviously you're going to update your starting image here. I created this using several different images in Flux context, and I'll show you how to do that in a different tutorial if you haven't already seen my existing ones. Here you'll set your width and your height. This will be the final video. This will be your interim video output size. You can change it again in the final sequence, but it's not necessary. I almost never change it And the upscaling, we'll upscale it to, 2 out of 4 times, and then that just becomes the default. Obviously, the higher this is, the better quality the resolution is, the better quality your output video, and the more smooth it will look when it goes to interpolate and upscale. These are just your model loaders. So this is good enough to put whatever models that you would like to use, your high and low models, obviously, because this is WAN 2.2. And then, of course, your light X, a 4-step LoRa's. I tried to not use these one time, and I think I spent 15 minutes waiting for a video that takes normally 2 minutes to generate. So yeah, I don't use them. I always use them now, even though you do lose a little bit of fidelity with that. Okay, moving on. So here you have your main prompt and then the number of frames. Obviously you can put this in the WAN image to video bit if you don't want to use this, but this just makes it easier and everything's right up here where you need it. So the only thing you're willing to change is things in this area. So is the number of frames that you have. This is a preview of your starting image, just so you know what you're working with or you're watching the video generate. This is your multi-line. This is not a good prompt. I just put this in here as a placeholder so that I could clear out the last video that I had. Obviously, you go on to other things, right? So I know something like, I'm gonna get her anything, right? Jinx plays with her gun. But so I know what her gun is. So plays with the yellow gun on her left side. So when you talk about directions, of course you want to mention directions relevant to her. Otherwise, go rabbit trailing. This is a really good advice for targeting specific things. It doesn't know what a gun is, but it knows there's something yellow on her left side. So it will take that and assume it's a gun, and then it will paint the rest of the gun, so which is super useful. All right, obviously here you have your high noise and your low noise LoRa's. So to bear in mind, you'll need both. You can use WAN 2.1 LoRa's here. You just have to use the same one for both. Okay, so everything will generate just as it's supposed to. It will generate a video. I use really low steps so that I could make this video quickly, without making you guys wait for 5 minutes to upload each video or the other transcode each video. So that's my quick animate this video. And then this is, of course, the last frame. Now, the correct sequence. So moving to your second sequence, you can go here and then to generate enable sequence 2. And I've created this block enabler, group enabler, or bypasser rather, for each section. So you don't have to necessarily go up to the top every time. Every section has its own, so you can just quickly enable it. Now, the important thing is it's going to start with this last frame. And even if I generate this 100 times, it's always going to remember which video is number 2. It's going to remember that, oh, the last generation is number 2. And this is going to increment. So it's going to be when 22 begin 1, it's going to be then 5, and then 10, and then 15, doesn't matter. So if I iterate it 15 times and I'm finally happy with number 15, it's going to use the 15th video automatically on this step. So it will generate the preview, use the preview image, and then you'll continue generating based on that sequence. So then I move on to sequence number 4. And in this sequence, if I generate this 10 times, it doesn't matter. I won't have to move the video. I won't have to remember which video left off and then go and move that over to a different folder or whatever the case may be. It'll just automatically remember and use it when I go to upscale. Okay, so same deal, sequence 5. I have 5 here. It's really modular. So if you wanted to add, 5 more here, it could, or 10 more or 50 more, it's no problem. You would just inch what you call the video. So I have everyone labeled video 5, video 4, video 3, video 2, video 1. So you just keep naming them down, and then of course update the one that you load. So pretty easy to add more sequences. Okay, so second part. So the second stage is the upscaler. So that takes the last video, say it loads video by path. So it remembers the actual text file that was generated in the first stage. And this is replaced every single time it generated a new video. So if you generate 15, it's going to say the same path here. It's going to load the same one into your load video. So this is always going to start with the last video you created on the sequence steps. So here it will load the video and it will do an upscale using the Rive VFI. Rive 49 is my suggestion. Use whichever one you'd like. You also have an upscale model here. Here I'm using the 4X SciX 200K one. That's the best quality in my opinion. The real Erscan, those other ones, leave way too many artifacts for my taste. This one is, I think, my favorite. There might be even better ones. I don't know. If you like something better for a reason, let me know in the comments. And I'll gladly try it. Okay, so more or less, this creates the upscaled version and then saves the video. And then it remembers where this upscaled version of the video is, and that's important. Same thing with number 2, number 3, number 4. If you were to generate these all at once, and you can totally turn them all on at once. In fact, I often do. And then you run it. This will upscale all of them independently because it's not using one for the other. It's actually using the previous ones you've saved in the sequence generation. You don't have to worry about it generating in order. This can generate any order you'd like. It doesn't matter. So let's see these. Okay, now the last part is the upscale step. So I'll go ahead and enable this one. So, sorry, this is the stitch step from the upscaling. So this will create a video from all of your stitches, so all of your individual ones. Now, there is no really smooth way to omit certain ones, but you can just select these by hitting Control and then selecting, or just holding Shift and selecting them, all the ones you don't want in your final video, and then hitting Control B. So this will only stitch 1, 2, and 3 together. Now, if I wanted, for some reason, if I wanted like a frame jump, like I didn't want to show clip number 3, but I did want to show 4 and 5, I can just comment out these ones or turn them off with Control B and leave 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 4, and 5 here. And then this will automatically ignore empty inputs, and then I'll put the rest into the final combined video. So you'll notice that also this is 32 frames per second, which will of course make it super smooth. And I did forget to mention, while this is actually, these videos are upscaled, they're also interpolated to 32 frames per second. I didn't mention that, sorry. So yeah, this will actually upscale it and interpolate it up to 32 frames per second. Okay. Okay, now we've discussed how it works. Let's do a trial run. Okay, so let's make sure that our precondition is okay. That's fine. Negative prompt default. The camera always keeps space in the frame. Great. And that's important because if the camera leaves and comes back, it will regenerate a different face. It won't remember what her face is. The exception is with eye blinks. For some reason, when they blink their eyes, they start over what their eyes look like after the blink, which is nice. But if the camera pans away and then pans back, it will be a different person. So it's important to remember. For me, if you want to keep character consistency with an iteration, always keep her face in the frame. Now that's less important if you're using a character Laura for this character. It will remember what her face looks like. So that's super important. As you can see, I actually have my Willow character Laura here. So I can remember face consistency when I do longer videos. Okay, so let's try this. So we have her raising her hands in the air. I've actually previously generated this. As you can see, my video is here. But I can generate it again and see if there's any difference, just for the sake of the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and execute here. And then I'll pause the video while it generates. Okay, the video is finished generating. You can see she's raising her hands a little different way than before. So I structured this workflow specifically to keep only the two things that you need to change here on the left-hand side. So left-hand top. So it's kind of top to bottom, left to right, like you would read. So here, a number of frames, generation, obviously, and then the actual prompt that you're going to use. Remember that the prompt that gets produced at the end will be a combination of those four pieces, right? With this one in the middle. Doesn't really matter for your point, for your sake, but keep that in mind. This is not the final prompt. The final prompt is actually the combination of the precondition, postcondition, and your middle prompt here, with the negative condition as far as the negative goes. Okay, what looks like everything generated good. We have a different output here. So let's go ahead and do the next one. Okay, so here we are in the sequence number 2. We'll turn off sequence 1, enable sequence 2. That's it. It's super simple. You can keep them all on at once and treat them all at once, but they might fire out of order, and it might use the last generation's last image instead of this generation's last image. So keep that in mind. Later on, it might add a different folder for every video project so that everything's already nicely contained for you. But for now, the last video is the first video of the next sequence. Okay, so we're going to change this prompt slightly. We're going to have her put her hands on her knees. I've already changed the number of frames. And yep, that's basically it. We're just keeping this simple for demonstration purposes. So we'll see if she does a little bit differently. You'll see UI at execute here. The first thing we'll do is we'll pull in the last frame of the last video. So you can see your hands are different. It will be this exact last frame, which is what's previewed here. That gets transferred into the second sequence. Right, so we'll see how this turns out. Okay, finished generating now, and you can see this is the final clip for section number 2, and we're happy with that one. We haven't lost fidelity. You can see here, these are the names of the actual clips, which is useful, but it's auto-saved, so don't worry about it. You can see it's actually saving the file name and here. So these are fixed. They'll always save in a folder called via director. So you don't have to worry. Those shouldn't be affected by anything else. And every time you generate, it will generate again. So it's important to remember that I can keep generating this. I can change the prompt if I don't like it. If I don't want her to put her hands on her knees, I can do something else in the same area. And she'll do that instead. And it'll remember that final clip. So I don't have to keep track of all of my failures. Okay, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I don't like it. I'm going to change it again. I'm not to keep track of that. I used to have to copy every generation that I liked into another folder so that I could stitch them all together at the end by hand. But with this workflow, I don't have to. I literally created this workflow because I wanted something like this. I did some research how it was possible. This file sailing thing isn't as obvious as it sounds once you hear it. Okay, does it for scene number 2? Let's go to scene number 3. Let's go on to scene number 3. So we'll turn off number 2 and turn on number 3. Okay. So I already pre-rendered this just to make sure that the prompt does what I want it to for the video. But I'm going to go ahead and generate it again for you guys. I want her to basically sit and grab her knees in the fetal position and have her hug her own knees. Exactly what's happening here. This actually turned out really well, but I'm going to generate it again for you guys. Set number of frames in the prompt. And remember that I'll always keep her face in the frame due to my post condition that I set earlier. This is the the image that it's going to use as the first frame, which you'll notice is the last frame from the previous video. It hasn't updated yet, of course, I haven't hit start, but I'm going to hit start. And you'll see that first the the frame updates to the last frame of the last video. And we'll go ahead and run it and see what happened. The video is finished now, and she's doing exactly what I asked her to, so that's great. And I did it within our 21 frame budget. Remember that the more complex your action is, or the more sequences that it has, for example, if you were to say, she does this, and then she does something else, and then somebody comes into the frame, if you have too many things, it won't do all of them. You kind of have this 21 frame budget. If if the stable diffusion process can't do all of that in the 21 frames you have, it will just do part of it. You'll see that a lot where when you have compound actions, like she does this and then this and then this, you'll only see one of those things being done, or she'll just sort of like move around casually without doing anything that you asked. So keep that in mind. If you see that she's only doing part of the action you requested, you definitely want to up this number of frames. Keep in mind as well that I'm using a very small number of frames. It's much more common and recommended to use more like 61, 81. I'm doing this for kind of fast previews and keeping the prompts simple so that she does what I want her to do within the scope of the video without trying to get too complicated. Okay. Okay, now that we have our third sequence done, we're going to go ahead and turn this one off. Once again, it doesn't matter where you turn it off, as long as you do turn it off. Okay, so now we're going to turn on our upscaling interpolation nodes. So this will not only upscale the video using the upscale model that you've chosen. I like the 4x SciAx one. There's Earthscan and Real Earthscan and another one called Foolhardy. I like the SciAx one the best. It gives you the most pure output without too much extra noise. The Earthscan ones for me create a lot of missing textures. It sort of breaks the video sometimes. So I prefer this SciAx one. It has better results, at least for my videos. So this upscale process will upscale the actual individual images. It will color match, as you can see here, from the original image. So it will use these colors. So for some reason you get that color drift from your generations as they're part of a sequence. It will correct those as well. So lastly, and maybe more importantly, this will actually use the Rife encoder to generate 32 frames per second output using frame interpolation. So it will take the first frame and then the second frame, and then it will add a frame in between them to make it look smoother. So it will add the delta between those two frames and then create that middle frame. And it will do that for frame 2 and 3. We'll create a frame 2.5, so to speak, and period 4, a frame 3.5, and so on. So with this method, it will create a very smooth looking video of 32 frames per second using only your original video. So this is going to do all three at once. It doesn't matter that it's doing all three at once or all 5 at once. It doesn't matter. It will do them one at a time. I included some RAM cleanup steps here because if you're on low RAM, this will really help. Sometimes this upscaling process will hold everything in memory, which will create some memory adage problems if you have low VRAM. So if you're doing all 3 at once, or all 5 at once, in some cases, better to keep that VRAM cleanup on. It will keep you from ooming if you have less than 100 gigs of RAM, which most people do. If you are finding that you are ready a VRAM, you can do one segment at a time, and it'll perform much better. It'll use only a very small amount of RAM, a more reasonable amount. Okay, well, let's let this do its thing, and then we'll come back with the final section. Okay, so my 3 videos have all been upscaled, then interpolated to 32 frames per second. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to the very last step. We didn't use sequence 4 and 5. Okay, and so here I have 2 different ones. So this is the non-interpolated, non-upscaled version. So if you wanted to just kind of see the final stitch without having to wait for all the upscaling, you can actually just turn this on and it won't go through this upscaling or interpolation step. So you'll get your 16 FPS results from your original sequences here. But since we're using the advanced version as workflow, we're going to do the final upscale version. So instead of that one, we're going to use this one. Oh, let's make sure we turn these ones off because we already done this. So while I would very much like to just have like a step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of process without having to turn off all these individual parts. Unfortunately, there is no realistically simple way to do this. We could have a auto sequencer with an index. That would be super complicated if you want to do, sequence 3 10 times manually. It would be really complicated to try to set that up to where the rest happens optionally. So for now, we're just going to have this on and off until I figure out a better way. We could be able to do it with an if then else node, but that's really complicated. Okay, so here we are with the final upscale. So since we only use frames 1 through 3, we're going to churn off 4 and 5. So we can select everything using Control, and then mouse select, and then hit Control B. Alternatively, you can just select with holding Shift and turn off those things individually, or all at once, or partially, or whatever the case may be. And if that's too complicated, you can just select one at a time, Control V, one at a time, Control B. So in this way, you can turn off scene 4 and 5. Okay, so this gives us only sequence 1, 2, and 3 to work with. So you'll see here video 1, 2, and 3, and these courses 4 and 5 are disabled. So this won't do anything else other than stitch these high-res videos together at 32 FPS. Now, remember the interpolation happened, so all of these source videos are at 32 frames per second, which is why this is a separate workflow, because it's going to be using the original 16 per second frame rate. Now, keep in mind that if you want this video to happen slower and be longer, if I were to set this to 16 FPS, instead of being this, 6-second video, it's going to be 12 seconds. It's going to be longer if I extend this, if I lower this frame rate. If I up this to, let's say, to 60 frames per second, it's the same content, same number of frames, but they will happen in much less time. So for an 8-second video, that would be 4 seconds, but it would be much faster. Some people actually use the frame rate in order to make the videos appear like they're happening really quickly. So speeding up the video. That's an old filmmaker's trick. Right, well, I'm going to go ahead and show this, and then we'll show the final video. Okay, that was very fast. I think it took a total of 29 seconds. So let's go ahead and click this. And then I'm using a remote GPU, so it's going to take a second to load just because of download speeds. All right, so here is the final 32 frames per second interpolated and upscaled video. So I'm going to go ahead and focus. So it's simple, it's short, it's 3 seconds, as each video was 21 frames, which is about 1 second a video. So 3 sequences times 21 is 3 seconds. So the video will have 63 frames times 2 because interpolation, so you did it. Great. Okay, so because we didn't choose a super high resolution, which we could have, it looks a little bit blurry with the upscale just because we didn't have enough pixels to work with. It still turned out really well. It still turned really smoothly. So there's not a whole lot of motion blur a little bit, but yeah, we definitely can fix that by choosing a higher initial resolution. So that's it. I chose low resolution just so we could do this video without having to wait half an hour to meet generation. But as you can see, I used a very low width and height here. I would be much better results even if I just, flipped it up to a couple notches and then had the width, by 1200 and the height maybe 1024 or something. So keep that in mind. In a perfect world, I would use the same resolution as my source image, but in this video would take like 5 hours to make. So want to avoid that. Okay, so that's it. So this is LobaForge. This was my video director workflow. This is a much more natural process for video editing and sequential video generation. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for your support on my Patreon, and I look forward to seeing you in the comment section. Take care.